Guys, this ruling right here from the Supreme Court in regards to Arizona's election integrity laws should be cited anytime Democrats go on their little stupid diatribe about, oh my God, the GOP is trying to suppress the vote. They're trying to suppress minority voters. Because they demolished the far left's argument about voter suppression. I mean, it's at the point now where it's a conspiracy, right? I'm just willing to call it what it is. The Democrats' narrative on voter suppression, on the GOP election laws, suppressing minority voters, is literally a conspiracy. It is at this point. It's a flat out lie. It just is. Okay? And this Supreme Court ruling right here, the way they just straight up demolish the argument is beautiful. It's beautiful. And it really shows just how BS the Democrats are about this situation, right? About this. The Democrats' idea, right, of a fair system is literally having voting machines in people's living rooms, okay? If you gotta get up, get out the door, if you gotta provide any documentation, if you gotta verify anything to go vote, the Democrats think that that's an infringement, right? That's what they think. If you have to do anything, if you have to lift a finger to vote, the Democrats literally believe that that is suppression. That's what they believe at this point, right? And it's funny because this Supreme Court case right here and them upholding Arizona's election integrity laws, the way they just demolish the narrative is just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So let's just read here. The Supreme Court upheld Arizona voting rules that restrict ballot harvesting and the submission of provisional ballots outside of one's home precinct, following a challenge from the Democrat National Committee. In a 6-3 decision on Tuesday, the court ruled that neither the policy requiring provisional ballots to be completely disregarded if submitted at the wrong precinct, nor the law making it a felony to submit another person's ballot, which, with limited exceptions, violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The decision overruled a ruling by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. So essentially, there was a questions about submitting provisional ballots to the wrong precinct, right? Like, could you throw those ballots out? And the answer is that if it's at the wrong precinct, it's at the wrong precinct. Yeah, you should be able to throw them out, right? You didn't send it to the right place. They upheld that. And then they also upheld that it should be a felony to submit somebody else's ballot with exceptions, right? Exceptions. That's also common sense. They're like, oh, no, that's not a violation of the Voting Rights Act. It's just not. But Democrats, on the other hand, they're going to say, oh, nothing's left of the Voting Rights Act. Nothing's left of it. The Supreme Court has just taken a hammer to it. It's ridiculous, man. The framing on this stuff is just absolutely crazy. Quote, neither Arizona's out-of-precinct rule nor its ballot collection law violates Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, Justice Samuel Alito wrote in the court's opinion, in which he was joined by Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. So basically, all the conservatives agreed with this. Okay, even liberal conservatives, John Roberts, right? Even Roberts was like, bruh, come on. This is fair, right? This is not a violation of Voting Rights Act. When John Roberts don't even agree with you in 2021, you know you just full of it. Like, come on. The court noted that Arizona law generally makes it quite easy for residents to vote. Discussing the out-of-precinct rule, Alito noted that the state made extensive efforts to alleviate burdens by sending notices to all registered voters when precinct locations are changed and by requiring election officials to send out sample ballots to each home with a registered voter that includes a notice of proper polling location. They're literally going out of their way to make sure people have the right information. So much for they're trying to suppress our vote. The GOP doesn't want you to vote. Argument is BS. The court also pointed out that the Arizona Secretary of State's office sends pamphlets with polling information and that voters can look online and find out their precinct location. See, this is what I'm talking about. They're saying, listen, they're literally telling you, they're giving you information they don't have to give you on how to vote, right? If they really were trying to suppress your vote, why the hell would they put out all this information. If I'm really trying to suppress somebody's vote, you know what I would do? I would put out as little information as possible about how to vote. I wouldn't send you nothing. Okay? I wouldn't send you nothing. I would make sure that the rules are tucked somewhere on some web page that's not easily rankable, that has terrible search engine optimization. That's what I would do. But that's not what's happening. They're saying, listen, we're going to make these laws, okay? And we're going to tell you how to go about abiding by these rules so that you can vote. It's really simple. But the Democrats, again, because there's not a voting machine in your living room, okay? Because nobody's not showing up to your house, filling out your ballot for you and taking it back. They think that's voter suppression. It's ridiculous, man. Like I said, it's a conspiracy. Quote, having to identify one's own polling place and then travel there to vote does not exceed the unusual burdens of voting, Alito wrote. On the contrary, these tasks are quintessential examples of the usual burdens of voting. Yes, old school voting. Oh my God, I know. Such a foreign concept, having to identify your own polling place and then go and vote. Oh my God, man. Oh, so hard. In discussing the ballot harvesting law, the Supreme Court recalled the district court's findings. The lower court found that the DNC did not provide any records of how many people had previously relied on third parties to deliver their ballots before the practice was made illegal, nor had they provided statistics on what percentage of this group were minorities. So DNC didn't even provide any statistics to back up their argument. And this is how the Democrats do. This is how they always do. GOP is suppressing votes. Okay, how many votes have they suppressed? How many have they asked? How many votes have been suppressed? Who and how many? Tell me, right? They can't. They never have an answer because it's a conspiracy. This is hilarious to me. I'm sorry. Like, this is just so funny. They're just breaking down every single argument. They just are. It's beautiful. Alito also mentioned how the lower court said that none of the individual voters called by the plaintiffs had even claimed that the ballot collection restriction would make it significantly more difficult to vote. So the plaintiffs, okay, the DNC was like, okay, we gonna bring these people in and say, hey, this is our evidence that this process is making it more difficult to vote. None of those people said that ballot collection restriction would even make it more difficult to vote, right? None of them said it. They didn't even agree with that. They didn't even agree with that. This is terrible. The court stated that the plaintiffs in this case were unable to provide statistical evidence that the law even had a desperate impact on minorities, and that they only had witnesses testifying that people in disadvantaged areas were more likely to use third parties, and that minorities were disproportionately living in such areas. Again, they're just pulling stuff out of their butt. That's what it is. They're just saying, oh, it disadvantages minorities. Okay, do you have any evidence for that? No, but it just disadvantages minorities. Trust me. And if you say anything different, then you are racist. That's the argument. Quote, as with out-of-precinct policy, the modest evidence of racially desperate burdens caused by HB 2023 in light of the state's justifications leads us to the conclusion that the law does not violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the court said. The Supreme Court's opinion also pointed out that the Ninth Circuit's en banc review found discriminatory intent. They did not say that a majority of lawmakers themselves had discriminatory intent, but were merely used as catpaws by others. Quote, under our form of government, legislators have a duty to exercise their judgment and to represent their constituents. It is insulting to suggest that they were mere dupes or tools. Quote, today is a win for election integrity safeguards in Arizona and across the country, Attorney General Mark Benovich said in a statement following the court's ruling. Fair elections are the cornerstone of our republic, and they start with rational laws that protect both the right to vote and the accuracy of the results. Justice Elena Kagan railed against the majority opinion in a dissent in which she was joined by Justice Stephen Breyer and Sonia Sotomayor. Quote, what is tragic here is that the court has yet again rewritten in order to weaken a statute that stands as a monument to America's greatness and protects against its basest impulses. What is tragic is that the court has damaged a statute designed to bring about the end of discrimination in voting, Kagan wrote. Again, where's the evidence for this, Ms. Kagan? Where is the evidence? You would think they would bring a lot of evidence to a case like this, right? Since they're trying to prove that these laws are so racist, again, you would think they would have some evidence. Some evidence, okay? Alito addressed Kagan's words in the court's opinions. Quote, the dissent is correct that the Voting Rights Act amplifies our country's commitment to democracy, but there is nothing democratic about the dissent's attempt to bring about a wholesale transfer of authority to set voting rules from the states to the federal courts, he said. And that can also be said about the Democrats, quote unquote, For the People Act, okay? Same thing can be said about that. Now, this is kind of a big deal because the Justice Department, Biden's Justice Department, is suing Georgia over their voting laws. And because of this opinion, this sets the precedent that the DOJ probably is going to lose that case too. Okay, and I cannot wait to hear the opinion on that as well, and for them to break down line by line why it is BS, right? Here's the thing, man. Like I said, the Democrats go out here and they make these crazy claims about GOP voting laws being racist, but they don't have any evidence to back it up. Okay, yeah, you have some you have some academics out here that have studied this, okay, to say, well, if you require an ID, minorities are less likely to have an ID, therefore it's discriminatory. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But you have to provide hard evidence that's going to hold up in the court of law, and they have not been able to do that. They haven't been able to do it. So until they present evidence that vote ID laws or these election integrity laws from the GOP actually discriminate against minorities, okay, then it's a conspiracy. Every time they say it, it's a conspiracy. That's what people should start saying. Okay, conspiracy theories, Democrats out here talking about election laws discriminate against minorities, acting like black people and Hispanics are too dumb to vote or too dumb to get IDs, okay? Even though the GOP, at least in Arizona, has made it very clear, this is how you vote. This is all information you need. Make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure you're following the rules, and you can vote, right? It's not hard, okay? So I found this to be beautiful, and this was a good W against the Democrats and their stupid narrative about voter suppression. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.